There's a specific moment in a woman's professional career, and I think it's this moment that every ambitious woman eventually meets, where it's this pause between what she's already built and what she secretly knows she's meant for next. So it's this in-between phase where her achievements, they no longer define her, but her next chapter hasn't yet revealed itself. And she can really feel it, that sense of there's something more for me. Maybe not necessarily more to do, but more to become. And this is where I often meet the woman that I work with, at the edge between control and surrender, between striving and allowing, between the woman she's been and the woman she's becoming. And when we often start working together, she arrives accomplished. She's perhaps already succeeded a lot in her life, but she's restless. She's grateful for what she's accomplished, but she's still feeling that tug of unfulfillment. And she's surrounded by evidence of her success, but maybe unable to really feel it. And so the quieter question that she's really asking is, how do I continue to rise, continue to grow, continue to expand my impact and income and influence, but without losing myself? So it's here in this space between maybe even exhaustion and her evolution that the real work begins. And that next level of success isn't found in doing more, but actually in unlearning the patterns that made more the only way to feel enough. So this work is not about building faster or higher. It's about building truer, reclaiming the parts of her that were left behind on the climb. Remembering that the same fire that built her empire can also light the path home to herself. So this is the work that I do, the conversations I hold. And in this episode today, I want to really dive into the things that I've learned coaching these ambitious, successful women to reach their next level of success, of wealth and impact. Let's dive in. Welcome to the She Leads podcast, a space that empowers women like you to build success in a way that feels authentic, energizing, and aligned with who you really are. In a world that tries to convince us that success means hustling harder and following everyone else's rules, we're here to rewrite the script. This is about success that feels nourishing, not depleting. Success that brings the fulfillment, impact, and recognition you deserve, whilst ultimately giving you the financial power to create the future you want and inspire meaningful change in the world around you. Make sure to hit the follow button so that you never miss an episode, and come and say hello on Instagram. You can find us at she_leads.academy. Let's dive in. Hello ladies, and welcome to a brand new episode of the She Leads show. Now, I have had the beautiful privilege of working with some of the most extraordinary women. I feel very, very lucky in the work that I do, that I could get to connect with such incredible women who have built amazing things, have achieved amazing things. I feel so, so blessed that I get to have conversations with such smart, capable, ambitious women. So I've coached senior leaders as they've stepped into C-suite roles that maybe once felt out of reach. I've supported female founders who've built and sold companies for tens of millions. I have worked with many creative entrepreneurs who have turned their passions into thriving businesses, multiplying their income tenfold without losing their souls in the process. And of course, through the She Leads Academy, which is our coach training, I have worked alongside and mentored thousands of coaches, women who are not only transforming their own lives, but helping others do the same. And for some, next level means making a full-time income from their work so that they can maybe finally leave their corporate job and create freedom on their own terms. For others, it might mean scaling beyond 6 or 7 figures, expanding their reach, growing a team, stepping fully into their role as a visionary leaders. For other women, it might mean stepping into those C-suite roles, getting the promotion, getting the pay rise. No matter what path they are on or what they're building, I found that the service goals, so the income, the title, the team, the impact, these things are rarely the full story, and underneath every ambition lies something deeper, a desire to expand what feels possible and to express more of who they truly are, and really to create success that feels as good on the inside as it actually looks on the outside. And no matter what the industry, the income level, or the stage of their business they're at, the same patterns always emerge, the same fears, the same turning points, the same invisible thresholds that every ambitious woman eventually meets on her path to the next level. And I think what really separates those who just keep pushing from those who truly elevate isn't intelligence or strategy. It's how they manage their inner world. It's how they lead themselves through the inevitable edges of growth. Self-doubt, exhaustion, visibility, expansion, redefinition. And these lessons, they've nothing to do with luck or talent. They've everything to do with the mindset, but also with the emotional intelligence and the energetic self-leadership that allow success to feel sustainable rather than suffocating. So what I would like to share with you on this episode then are some of the most profound insights that I've learned from coaching these ambitious women at every stage, from, their first leap of faith to that multi-million-dollar exit, and about what it really takes to reach your next level of success. So let's start with success dysmorphia, because this is something that is very real. Women are making it, sure, and on paper they're successful, yet it still feels like there's something missing. So really what I'm seeing is it's just the same old imposter syndrome, but now she's driving a Range Rover and she's wearing Loro Piana cashmere and she has private Pilates classes 3 times a week. And sure, who doesn't love weekends at Soho Farmhouse and summers spent on the Amalfi Coast? But these external markers of success, whilst they certainly feel good, the joy they bring is often fleeting when the way in which you're succeeding isn't necessarily aligned anymore. Now, all of these things look great on the highlight reel, but if the way you're winning keeps you disconnected from yourself, what exactly are you winning at? And this is a phenomenon I've seen repeatedly, even in the most accomplished women. They've hit every milestone that they once dreamed of, the title, the income, the clients, the recognition, and yet they can really feel it. They are thriving on paper, yet they're secretly wondering, why doesn't this feel like enough? It's success fatigue. But make it high functioning. It's the kind where you still can hit your targets, but quietly Googling, why don't I feel fulfilled at, 2 a.m. So success dysmorphia then is what happens when your inner experience of achievement doesn't match your outer reality. So just like body dysmorphia, it can distort how someone sees their physical self. Success dysmorphia distorts how someone perceives their own progress. So it's not about ego or ingratitude, it's about conditioning. So many women have learned from a very early age that their worth is something to be earned through doing, through performing, through producing. And their nervous system then becomes wired for this pursuit, the chase, the stretch, the next level. That constant forward motion becomes their baseline of safety and identity. So when they reach what they thought was the finish line, I'm just going to feel happy and content when I get that promotion. Or I'm going to feel really fulfilled and safe and secure when I am making X amount per month. Or when I successfully exit this business and sell the company, then, I'll feel like I've made it. They think that is going to be the finish line. But what happens is something in their system then panics when they get there because rest feels unsafe. Contentment feels completely alien to them. Their body doesn't know how to exist without the rush of becoming or striving for something else. And so almost reflexively, they move the goalpost. And I see this play out so many times where women are just constantly moving the goalpost forwards. And it kind of constantly feels like they're chasing something more and never really feeling that true fulfillment. So I had a client, a corporate leader, who she just actually stepped into a C-suite position. And this was something that she kind of always saw for herself. Like ever since she joined the company, she was like, this is where I'm aiming for. But she told me, well, it just feels a bit off. Like, why am I not proud? Why am I not feeling really happy and celebrating? I just feel super flat. And all of the things that she used to assume would make her happy, like the beautiful home, the fancy holidays, kids in private education, of course they make her happy. But there's still something that is missing. And maybe she thought, maybe actually I'm needing a new challenge, or maybe I just need a bigger goal now, or maybe I need to step into a different industry completely. But what we realized through working together was that what had really become clear was that her body had never been taught to feel safe in satisfaction. Her nervous system was still wired to equate stress and striving with purpose. And without that pressure, she felt very disorientated. Another example is a coach that I worked with, and she basically 5x'd, so 5 times her income that she was making in her coaching business within the space of 6 months. Wonderful. That was kind of one of the goals that we were working towards. Obviously, we were both super happy that she'd hit that milestone. And objectively, she was thriving. She'd hit that milestone. Her programs were sold out. She'd increased her prices. Her clients were raving about her. Yet she was still waking up with the same kind of anxiety, scanning for what could go wrong, because somewhere inside she believed calm meant complacency. So she had learned, either consciously or maybe not, that her worth and safety came from constant motion, from doing, producing, launching something new, solving problems. So when things finally became calm, so we got her business to a place where a lot of it was automated and systemized. So the clients were coming in. She wasn't having to work as hard as what she needed to previously. She wasn't having to create all of the endless content that she was previously having to create. So things were pretty easy. There was no fires to put out, no deadlines, no chaos. But her nervous system didn't interpret that as peace. It interpreted it as danger. So calm felt foreign. It felt threatening to her because her entire identity had been built around striving. Helping women reach their financial goals. This for me is the easy bit. It's strategy, it's data, it's logic. So it's building the systems, refining the offers, optimizing the funnels, tracking the metrics. Those things work. They always do. That bit's easy. But that's not where the transformation actually happens, because reaching the milestone and feeling at peace inside it are two very different things. So I've seen women hit every target on their list, hit the milestone and do that very quickly, yet they still feel an ache that they can't name, that sense that something's missing, even in the middle of their success. I can very easily help you make money, but the key is to help you feel safe in your success, to help you enjoy what you've built, rather than constantly trying to outrun it. That takes a different kind of work. It's the work beneath the strategy. It's the emotional, energetic, somatic recalibration that allows a woman to actually hold what she's created, to trust it, to relax into it. Success that's built on adrenaline and fear will always demand maintenance. But success, if you build it on calm, clarity, self-trust, that kind of success will sustain itself. So this is where our work together really began. Not just in building more and hitting those financial milestones, but learning how to be grounded and free inside the life that she worked so hard to create. And so this then leads me on to the second lesson that I've learned from coaching, successful, ambitious women. And the pattern I see is that they often believe that the missing piece is the strategy. And it's one of the most consistent patterns I see in high-achieving women, whether it's women in the corporate space or women in business. They believe that the next breakthrough, the next level of income, recognition, success is this missing piece of strategy. Oh, well, if I could just figure out the right marketing funnel, or if I could just hire the right person, or if I could just, find the right structure. They're convinced that there's some sort of hack or secret that they haven't been told. And yes, sometimes a shift in structure is a part of the solution. In fact, most of the time that is going to come into it. But more often, what's really blocking them isn't necessarily tactical, it's energetic. It's the state in which they are in when they execute the strategy that determines the results. You can have a brilliant strategy. Remember, the strategy is the easiest part. It's simple, it's logical. So when I'm working with women, often it's following the steps that I've already proved to work previously. So it's just following, a set structure. That's the easy bit. But you could have a brilliant strategy. You could have a strategy that works powerfully. But if it's run with frantic energy, it's always going to underperform a very simple strategy that's executed with grounded certainty. Now, when women tell me that they feel stuck, it doesn't usually mean that they lack the knowledge. It usually means that they're in this subtle, energetic loop of seeking rather than embodying. So they've probably consumed a lot of information. Maybe they've watched a lot of masterclasses, maybe taken a lot of courses, maybe hired multiple mentors, yet something still feels off. They have this belief that there's always another answer out there that keeps them disconnected from the wisdom within them. This constant search is actually a way of avoiding discomfort, the discomfort of slowing down long enough to just listen inwards. It's safer to look for another strategy than to face the vulnerability of asking, do I actually trust myself? So a client of mine, for example, she was a founder who had already built a 7-figure business, and she came to me convinced that she needed a more refined sales process to break through her next plateau. And she'd mapped out all of these new funnels, scripts, offers, but she said none of it really feels right. And when we started working together, we started to unpack this, and we realized the problem wasn't the system. It was that she was launching from a place of fear-based energy. She was fearful of losing momentum, fear of disappointing her team. She was worried that if she didn't grow, she'd be irrelevant. Her actions were strategic, but her energy was desperate. And once she slowed down, once she reconnected to her original intention, and she launched from this space of calm conviction rather than panic, this is when her results really grew exponentially. Using the exact same strategy, I might add. So it wasn't the strategy, it was the energy behind it. Now, I think the reason why so many women chase this missing piece is because certainty feels safer than surrender. Strategy, it gives us this illusion of control. But energy, on the other hand, it requires trust. Trust in yourself, in the timing, in your intuition. And this self-trust, this is something that our achievement-driven culture, it rarely teaches us. So when clients begin to work on things like the energetic foundation beneath their strategy, for many of the women that I'm working with, they are learning this for the first time. They've never been taught it before. But when they start to bring this in to their life, their belief in themselves, their emotional regulation, their ability to lead from alignment rather than anxiety, this is when things start to shift. And then we see things like their marketing. All of a sudden, it starts to connect with the right people. It might be for the women in corporate, their team starts to respond differently. Their bosses recognize them in a different way. Opportunities start coming to them instead of feeling like they're constantly chasing opportunities. The external world always mirrors what is going on internally. And what I'm really teaching them here is that, okay, the question here that you're asking, what strategy am I missing? This isn't the question you should be asking. It's, who am I being when I implement my strategy? When you shift from that frantic energy to an embodied certainty, the strategy that you use, whether you are a woman in corporate or a woman in business, whatever strategy, it's going to stop feeling like a guessing game, and it will start feeling like an expression of who you already are. And this is when your work becomes magnetic. This is when you stop, tweaking everything. I see this happening so often, women constantly tweaking things, their website, their landing pages, their brand, their resume. They stop tweaking things and start trusting things. They stop chasing things and instead start attracting things. And this is when life, when business, when your work, they finally start to feel effective, but also alive, also joyful. Now, the third thing that I've recognized in every woman that I work with is that the energy that got them here, that got them to where they are now, this is the kind of energy that they're going to need to sustain what they've built. So what I mean by this, let's say a woman hits this particular milestone. Let's say she's a business owner and she's made her first 6 figures within her business. Then comes the moment of, great, I've hit this, wonderful, but can I actually hold this? Can I maintain this? Can I continue on this growth trajectory? It's one thing to achieve success, but it's quite another thing to sustain it without burning out, without collapsing, without resenting the very thing that you've worked so incredibly hard to build. And this is where most women hit this invisible edge. The energy that got them here is not the energy that will carry them forwards. The fuel that built what they've built is not always the thing that can sustain it. Because I think many of the women that I have at least worked with, they've built what they've built so far on what I call activation energy. So this is things like drive, discipline, proving, performance. It's that kind of fire that gets things moving. It's the thing that cuts through resistance. It demands action. It's powerful and it can be very necessary. It's often life-saving, especially in the early stages of a career or business. So if you think about when we first start something, we first embark on our careers or we first start in our business, we have the energy to be able to produce and perform and just kind of almost hustle down. But the problem is activation energy. It runs very hot, it burns hot, and it burns fast. So it's a beautiful short-term fuel, but it's a terrible long-term strategy because the nervous system eventually adapts to that constant forward pressure. And the body starts saying, I can't keep up. I can't keep running on adrenaline forever. And the irony is that many high achievers misread that kind of voice, like, I can't keep up with this, as I'm just not motivated anymore. I've lost my direction. I've lost my purpose. When in reality, it's their next evolution calling them forwards. This is actually a signal of their evolution, their system, their values, their identity. All of it is upgrading. And the same energy that used to fuel their rise, so things like pressure, urgency, proving, these things no longer align with where they're meant to go next. So they're basically outgrowing the version of ambition that got them to where they are today. Now, their intuition and their body, they know these things before their mind actually does. And that's why it often shows up as exhaustion or confusion. The old operating system can't sustain the new version of themselves. And this is really that call to evolve, to build differently, to succeed differently. So what they're kind of hearing below the surface, it's not, you've got to stop growing, like you've already reached, these milestones, enough's enough. It's saying grow differently. So it's not the end of ambition, it's the maturing of the ambition. It's the evolution asking for space to breathe. Now, ladies, if this conversation sparks something within you today and you're thinking, I'd like to dive deeper into this. If this feels relevant for you in your life where you're thinking, yes, I'd love to reach that next level of success, of impact and income, but I want to do so in a way that really fuels me and without losing my soul in the process, then I'd love to invite you to our brand new members area, the She Leads Inner Circle. So the She Leads Inner Circle then, it is for the woman who is ready for exponential growth, but to grow in a way that finally feels sustainable, it feels aligned and true to who she is now. So maybe you're feeling like you're at a moment in your life where you're not creating the success that you want, or maybe you feel like you've plateaued and the way that you've been working perhaps no longer fits. Perhaps you're feeling done with struggling and chasing and proving and performing. These things no longer fit the woman who you know that you're becoming. Now, this is for the woman who does not want to dim her ambition. In fact, if anything, she wants to set her standards even higher. Her vision is expanding. But you also know that more success, more wealth, more impact can't come at the cost of your own inner peace. So the inner circle is where we will explore how to grow exponentially without overriding yourself in the process. How to scale your success, but without scaling your stress at the same time. How to lead with clarity, confidence, and calm so that you can actually sustain what you've built and keep expanding it from a place of grounded power. So this is a space for women who are ready to evolve beyond the constant push and who really want to build in a way that honors their energy, their intuition, and their depth. Now, this next level, it's not about working harder. It's about leading differently, with intention, with integrity, and with ease. Now, the She Leads Inner Circle is invite only. So if this feels like it is speaking to you, if it feels like where you are or where you're heading, you can apply by visiting she-leads.co/membership. We will also link that into the show notes. And for those ladies who are invited to join the Inner Circle, I will see you on the inside. If today's episode lit something up in you and you are ready to build a coaching business that not only changes lives but creates the income and freedom you deserve, then right now you can request a free trial of our She Leads Academy coach training. To get your free trial, just head over to Instagram and visit us at she_leads.academy. You will find the link to the free trial in our bio. I cannot wait to see what's possible for you.